Welcome, everyone. We're back for another episode of Indie Reads Aloud. Today is a very special episode. This is a student author that we have on the program today. Pranav Sandip is here. He is from Canada and he is in grade 8, so 14 years old. Welcome, Pranav.
Yeah, thank you for having me here today.
I'm happy to have you. I'm so excited that we get to spotlight feature a student author. I don't get very many students on the program because not many students have published. So I'm very curious about your story. How did you decide at such a young age that you wanted to write a book?
So, I started writing around 10 years old. I think most of what, fueled my passion for writing was I'm an avid reader. I read a lot and I when I was like around 10 years old, I was fascinated by like these fantasy stories that everyone knows, like Harry Potter,
Mm,
Percy Jackson, Lord of the Rings, like all these epic tales that authors have made. And I wanted to make a story that was reminiscent of that, kind of like it. So I started writing a story. At first, I didn't really have an idea, but then I like brainstormed ideas and I finally came to a conclusion. I wanted to write a story about a boy who has a magical flower. So
excellent.
I had all these ideas in my mind, like about the different aspects of the story, but I found it really hard to like bring it together into a story. So like I'd have these ideas, but didn't know how to word them or how that would be part of like the plot. So that's something I struggled with at first. So
And how
when
did you get over that? How did you overcome that struggle?
Yeah, so when I was 12 years old, I think, I live in Toronto. So my school board, the Toronto District School Board, partnered with an organization called Arts Intersection Agincourt. So this is an organization that helps kids publish picture books, but they also said that for somebody like me who wanted to publish a novel, they could still help me. So I was really excited. So I decided to join the program, and I felt like that really helped me because I got ideas for like how to properly format a story, like plot and different aspects of the story, how to bring your ideas together. So,
That sounds like a fantastic program. It sounds like you really learned a lot about story structure and pulling together different points of view.
yeah, I would say so because up till that point I was like stuck in like the middle of the story. I
Mhm.
got to like a certain point and then I'm like, what happens next? I don't know. So they really helped me solve that I don't know because I got lots of because they, told me how to. You could also come up with ideas because it's important that the ideas you come up with match what's already existing in the story, right? So
Absolutely, sure.
yeah, so that I felt like that was really helpful. So shortly after the program is when I published my first book. I actually have it right here, Rick Harlow Brown and the Rise of Grimspain.
Very
So
nice.
so this is the book I was talking about a boy who has who discovers he's from a lineage of superheroes and obtains a magical flower and has to stop a villain from taking it from him. So that was my first book. So after I published my first book, I felt like a sense of satisfaction. I'm like, this is really fun to do. I want to do more of
Indeed.
this. So
Yeah.
I started writing my second book. For my second book, I decided to learn from the sort of mistakes I made in the first book, and I learned from it and made it my second book better. So, and that's the book I'm about to read to you in a short
It's
while.
extraordinary. You've already read two books and you're so young. What a wonderful achievement.
Thank you. So I was working on my second book and I put a lot more emphasis into character development because, like I said, those stories, right? Harry Potter, Percy Jackson, Lord
Right?
of the Rings, the reason why those stories stick with us is because the characters, they're very unique, they're very unique characteristics. and it's kind of like it's like almost personalities, and that's what really sticks to a reader.
Sure, sure.
So yeah, so I
Different characteristics that we can identify with, right? So
yeah
we see
different
a little
yeah
bit
like
of
relate
ourselves in those characters.
yeah so it should yeah like relatability is what I was
Yes.
thinking about. So I wanted my story to appeal to other teenagers, my like kids my age. So I put a lot of effort into that. And as for the plot, that's also something I put a lot more emphasis into. Because for my first book, I think what happened was I came up with all these ideas, but I didn't really form it into a coherent plot. So that's something I intended to change for my second book. So pretty much like right from the beginning, I had an idea. Okay, this is what's going to happen. These are the characters. This is the problem. This is how they're going to solve it. So, yeah, I published my second book actually only about 6 months after starting it. So,
Nice.
yeah, because so from that was significantly shorter than the amount of time I took from my first book. And like I said, I
Well,
feel like,
the
yeah,
second book always takes less time because you already kind of understand how the process works.
yeah,
And I
exactly.
think it's that way with anything that we do in life. You know, the first attempt is always very tentative, and then after that it becomes much easier.
Yeah, totally. I agree. It's so I had experience from my first book. I also had all these ideas and knowledge from attending the program and also doing research and like reading a lot of books to see, this is what this author did. This is what that author did.
Exactly. That's why we say, in order to be a really great writer, you also have to be an avid reader so that
Yeah.
you can learn and absorb the techniques of other authors and then infuse that into your writing.
Yeah.
Excellent. Well done. I'm excited to hear you read. Um, so this is a mystery, and you're
hmm
going to be reading from Echoes Beneath the Surface. So, Pranav, Sandip, when you are ready, please take the microphone and read aloud.
Okay, so I will be before I start, there's one thing I need to like tell.
Okay.
The main character in this story has a condition called synesthesia. So to let me explain a little bit about this condition, it's not a disorder of any sort. So it's when you experience like one sense, like you know the five senses, the sight,
Sure.
smell, taste, touch, and yeah, so five senses. And when you experience one sense, people with synesthesia might also experience another unrelated sensory experience that isn't real in most cases. So, for example, for example, I read this one article online about a man who, when drinking coffee, hears a train whistle in the background, even though he lives nowhere near a train line. And when
Yes, I have heard about this condition. There was one article I read that someone could smell different colors.
yes, yeah, exactly. It's like that. So my main character struggles from that, and I feel like explaining this will give you a bit more context about what the character.
Perfect. Excellent. Thank you for that.
Okay, I'll get started.
Thank you.
Chapter 1: A normal day gone wrong. Chicken noodle soup is a bad omen. Before everything fell apart, before the investigation, before the mental breakdown, I was at my friend Kai's house. My own parents weren't there. They were at the police station again for an investigation. Mom, tell me what it is. I had pleaded for weeks. We can't, hon. We just can't. The response never changed. And every time they said it, I felt it, the taste curling on my tongue, sweet at first, but then bitter. They barely came home anymore, constantly running off to the station, often for completely random reasons. That fateful day, Mom was listening to the radio when suddenly she got a call from her phone and she was off. Mike, it's Rachel, she alerted my dad. We have to go. All right, Aaron, he replied, packing his bag frantically. When I asked about it, I felt the same metallic taste in my mouth, sharp, cold, like chewing on foil. It's fine, Rhys, Mom said. It's just a feeling, like always. We'll be all right. Rhys, we have to go. This is important, Dad added. This is really important, hun. You understand, right? Said Mom, kissing me on the forehead. I nodded, but I didn't understand. Not really. This investigation seemed different, though. Urgent. So urgent that it couldn't wait a single day. The metallic taste kept on stinging my taste buds. Sometimes I really hate my synesthesia. It's the only time I don't know what my own brain is thinking or what my own brain's doing. Was my brain warning me that something was wrong? I wanted to know what it was. Was someone important murdered? Was there a giant robbery? Is a convicted and dangerous prisoner on the loose? Maybe that's why they had gotten me the new tablet for your safety, Dad had told me, like I was the one who was constantly out alone. After they left, Kai texted me, Hey, want to come over? It was almost like magic. He always knew when I wanted to spend time with him. When I went to his house alone again, I was expecting a question about where my parents were, but Kai never asked about them. Instead, he grabbed my arm and dragged me upstairs, excitement buzzing in his voice. You have to see what Mama got me. His room was a mess of used clothes, but he didn't care about any of them except one. A long black fabric was draped over his desk chair. Check it out, Rhys. He lifted it up, grinning. Mama got me a new cloak. I look like a real detective now. He grabbed a pencil and pretended to smoke a pipe. I laughed despite myself. It was ridiculous. It was perfect. Kai and I had always loved detectives when we were younger, loved solving mysteries. It was our thing. Even though now we were busy with school and classes and our personal lives, it was still a fun discussion topic. So I should have been happy. But even as Kai spun in his new cloak, pretending to investigate imaginary crimes, the metallic taste still lingered on my tongue. I could also suddenly feel and smell a hint of smoke. My eyes started ringing. The light suddenly felt way too bright. Something was wrong. I just didn't know what it was. My heart started pounding and I sat down on his bed groaning. Reese, Kai asked, are you okay? You're having those sensations again? Is something burning? I muttered. No, Reese, remember, none of this is real. It's okay. Just concentrate on this, Kai said, pulling out his phone and playing my favorite song. Come on, Reese, he said. You love this song. Let's boogie. He started dancing horribly and pretending to sing. Slowly, without me even realizing it, my body was shaking back and forth to the music. And before I knew it, I was up on my feet dancing. The metallic taste was slowly vanishing, and the smell of smoke was replaced by the smell of grass and flowers. The lights flashed in many different colors. After the song was over, we both fell on Kai's beanbag chairs. I was panting for air. Well, said Kai, I think we all know who danced better. You mean we all know who likes looking like a doofus, I said. We both laughed. Well, so far this summer has been a blast, Kai said. I never want to go back to school again. My summer's been boring so far, I said. My parents have constantly been out of the house on a super important investigation. What is it? Kai asked, excited. No clue, I said, worried. I have a feeling that it's something dangerous. They keep leaving the house for no reason. Maybe it's a mass jailbreak. Or maybe a bank robbery. Or a nuclear threat, Kai said. Or maybe you should shut up, I said. Kai giggled. But I couldn't. The taste lingered and everything just felt wrong. At 8, I waved goodbye to Kai and told him I would text him once I got home. I hopped on my bike. I looked at the blue birthday banner on his front porch. Suddenly it turned red, and I felt sweat trickling down my neck. My heart started beating rapidly in my chest. I suddenly felt like someone was following me. Something was wrong for sure. I quickly pedaled off. I biked home in 5 minutes, ran to the house, and locked all the doors and windows. I ran all around the house and I switched off all the lights. My parents were not home yet. The taste finally vanished and I could finally relax. I opened the fridge to see what my parents had left for me. I think Mom was in a rush leaving the house this morning because she quickly mixed in whatever she could find, forgetting my very specific preferences. I felt like I was looking at worms eating through a decomposing body, or what a normal human would have seen as chicken noodle soup. My stomach was churning. Ever since I was a little kid, I always used to get these disgusting feelings when eating certain foods, to the point where until I was in middle school, my parents would always hide vegetables in my food. In middle school, however, I was constantly getting teased about having lunches that looked like slop or looked way too fancy. I was slowly trying to cope with this feeling, and I figured that this was good practice. Come on, Rhys. You can do this. I encouraged myself as I tried another look at the soup. I quickly put it in the microwave and switched it on. I started feeling so incredibly nauseous as all I could picture in my mind was worms being boiled and their juices oozing out. Weird tingly feelings and tastes appeared. Finally, it was simply too much and I ran into the toilet to throw up. Once I came out of the bathroom about 10 minutes later, I felt miserable. I put the soup in the fridge. I just grabbed two slices of bread and drank some orange juice, both of which were safe. I still continued to hear the ringing in my ears, though, and the absolutely disgusting taste of vomit lingered in my mouth. What good was it if I couldn't even handle chicken noodle soup? I could not sleep at all that night. I actually started reading to try and distract myself, though it didn't work. Where were Mom and Dad? They had never come home from work past 9 o'clock, but it was 10:30. I tried calling Mom and Dad, but neither of them picked up. I was now in full-on panic mode. I was truly alone in the middle of the night, and now I was afraid that something happened to them. I tried to calm myself down, but nothing I did worked. The rational common sense of my brain had been washed away with overwhelming fear and worry. I quickly grabbed my inhaler as I was gasping for air. The ringing continued, the headaches emerged. My synesthesia had never been this bad before. What was going on with me? Suddenly, I heard a knock on the door. I froze. Not a loud pounding, just a single quiet knock. Deliberate, waiting. The keyhole turned. No, no, no. The door creaked open. Someone was inside my house and they were coming for me. I saw a hooded figure. It softly muttered, Rhys? I couldn't breathe. My vision flooded red as the metallic taste spiked through my throat like knives. The last thing I heard before hitting the ground was my own scream. Chapter 2. The Hospital Bed. Tachycardia, the weirdest word for the weirdest moment. I woke up to sunlight streaming through a window. Soft breeze, birds chirping. For a split second, everything was normal. Then two faces appeared in my vision. What happened? I rubbed my head. My heart was pounding. I yelped startled, but when I recognized the faces, Aunt Margaret and Uncle Spruce, I collapsed into sobs. He's awake, Aunt Margaret said, sounding relieved. You okay, bud? Uncle Spruce asked, voice tight with worry. I tried to sit up, but the sensation felt like bugs skittering all over my body. Uncle Spruce didn't let go. Rhys, we're just glad you're awake. Why? What happened? I gasped. Someone came into my house. Aunt Margaret hesitated. Sweetie, it was me. Your mother gave me a key. She told me to check in on you at night. She mentioned your synthetic thingy or something like that. Synesthesia, I corrected sharply, my voice raw. I'm so sorry, honey, Aunt Margaret whispered. But you had a, what was it called? Oh, yes, a tachycardia episode. I had a what? Is it related to my heart? I asked. It was pretty major, she added quickly. It's why you collapsed. I'm not actually 100% sure on what exactly it is. Ask the doctor. My blood ran cold. The air left my lungs. Where are Mom and Dad? Silence. I kept on groaning in pain as my heart was racing. I felt the answer before she said it. A cold, bitter taste coated my tongue. This was what my synesthesia was telling me. We don't know, she whispered. Everything suddenly started blurring. I could hear my mom's voice in my head. I couldn't make out what she was saying because her voice kept on echoing in my head. What if my parents were in danger? So why isn't anyone looking for them? I asked furiously. But the metallic taste returned. I could sense that they were lying. They did know. We're doing our best, my aunt muttered, strangely distraught. She was about to cry, so she stepped out of the room. How long do I have to stay here? I asked. At least 3 days. Don't worry, we'll be here with you, said Uncle Spruce. The metallic taste continued to linger. The hospital room was too bright, too sterile. The sheets felt like I was sleeping on a cactus. It felt like it pricked and irritated my skin. Even though the doctor said I was stable, my heart was still beating like I had just ran a mile. But not from exhaustion, not from fear. It was anger. Uncle Spruce sat across from me, arms crossed, face tight. He hadn't met my eyes since I woke up. That's how I knew he was hiding something. Just tell me what happened, I said, gripping the sheet so hard my fingers ached. Rhys, Uncle Spruce sighed, rubbing his jaw. His voice was careful, like he was tiptoeing around broken glass. Not right now, you just woke up. I clenched my teeth. Not right now, that's all I ever heard. The doctor suddenly stormed into the room. They kept checking the monitors and they made me eat some painkillers. I asked the doctor, what exactly happened? The doctor pulled a chair. Rhys, what you experienced wasn't a heart attack. It was something called a tachycardia episode. I blinked. What does that mean? She smiled gently. Tachycardia just means your heart was beating too fast, faster than it should when you're resting. Normally, your heart beats between 60 to 100 times per minute, but during your episode, it spiked much higher, almost 180 times per minute. That was insanely fast. I stayed still, shocked. Why? I asked. Well, she said, your brain and body were under a lot of stress. With your synesthesia and everything you were feeling and going through, your nervous system went into overdrive. That triggered your heart to race. It's like your body hit the panic button. I swallowed. So, am I okay? You are now, she said. We've stabilized your heart rhythm, but we'll keep monitoring you for the next 2 days, and we'll teach you ways to manage stress so this doesn't happen again. The whole time, Uncle Spruce sat like a statue. After the doctors left, I looked him in the eye. Where are my parents? I know that you know, I said. Uncle Spruce flinched, just barely. Another pause. Too long. Why was he so worried to tell me where my parents were? I felt a gripping sensation and the sound of church bells ringing in my ears. Why church bells? My brain was trying to tell me something. Uncle Spruce's grip tightened around my tablet. He hesitated. For just 1 second, I thought he might say something. But then he just handed it to me, walked out. The door clicked shut, and that was somehow worse than hearing him say it outright. And even though he didn't want me to worry, he just made me do so.
Thank you very much. What a fantastic reading. I am absolutely mesmerized by your writing skill. Good job.
Thank you.
Your writing is so wonderfully tactile. And by that, I mean, you're one of the few authors that I've read, even adult authors, who incorporate the five senses into your work. I felt, I heard, I smelled, I tasted, I saw the same things your character was experiencing. That's a very rare thing in fiction. Not a lot of people do it. Some authors choose one or two, and you got all five of them. I am tremendously impressed.
Thank you.
Really, really well done. Do you have another book that you're working on coming out next?
Yes, I do have another book. So I'm actually currently working on two more books. The
Okay.
first book I'm currently working on is a sequel to Rick Carlo Brown and the Rise of Grimsbane from the perspective of another character in the story.
Okay.
And my second book is about kind of based on like my own experience. So I used to live in India for the first 5 years of my life before moving to Canada at age 5. So
Okay.
my second story is about a girl who's coming to Canada for college, and she's Indian just like me. And I'm writing about her experience and how she adapts to this new country.
That's fantastic. I love that. Absolutely love that. I am so looking forward to having you back on the program. You will come again and read from the first book and then the next two when they come out, right?
Yes, of course.
I would love that. Be sure to go up and sign up again so I can bring you back on the program. Thank you so much for your time today. Thank you for sharing your talent with us. And I'm going to go buy your book. Well done.
Thank you for having me here today.
You're quite welcome.